I'm just going to say thank you to our instructor tonight, Gisela Belinfante, and for all the work she does to get this program up and running and to help you guys with your resumes. Okay, sip and learn. Now I have an empty glass and I'm ready. What do anybody want to help me out? Put something in here. I can start sipping. If it doesn't, I'll wait to the very end. Enjoy, everyone. Gisela, you're on. There
Thank
you
you,
are.
Chuck.
You're welcome,
Hi,
Maggie.
good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chuck, for that great introduction. I'm always pleased to be able to come back and support everyone in trying to accomplish, which is the goal, securing employment, and even if not specifically that, making sure that you have the most important document, which is your resume. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. So again, good evening. My name is Gisela Belinfante. Once again, this is another development workshop. It's probably about the fifth one that I've done for Black MBA, and each one keeps getting better, I've been told. So hopefully this one will be full of a lot of different surprises and a lot of interactive conversations with you guys. So this is a sip and learn, a little different to the workshops that we've had in the past. And sip and learn means that you're sipping on a beverage of your choice while learning, right? So I'll just show you mine. Uh, I have this cool, pretty coffee cup here. I won't say what's in it, probably coffee or something different. But again, like to Chuck's point, please feel free to have your beverage. Definitely have a pen and paper, and of course, have your resume out. The Sip and Learn Resume Workshop, the information to reach me is there for you. So please take a picture of that or write it down. You can feel free to email me. Definitely at this moment, if you guys are on Instagram, if you are on Instagram, please follow Resume Journeys. You'll see a lot of information posting events on Instagram. And of course, my phone number is there as well. Feel free to text me. So we'll jump right into it. So we definitely want you guys to utilize the chat feature, right? Because this is interactive. You guys have to tell me what exactly you would want to take away from this event. So one thing I do ask is, if possible, you guys, if you're on your Zoom, the name that is there, sometimes you see Galaxy or it might not be any name. If you can just edit that and put your name so I can be able to have more of a better dialogue in addressing you. So if you could just change that to your name, that would be great. But what are the questions you would like answered from this Sip and Learn Resume Workshop webinar? Can you guys please put in the chat, what would you like to take away from this webinar? So we can make sure that we address all your questions. Usually we do Q&A at the end, but I definitely want to make sure that we're answering all the questions that you have, and we'll make sure that they're addressed. And if not, then we'll just make sure that we follow up, because I want to make sure that you guys are set up for success. So let's talk a little bit about Resume Journey, what Resume Journey is and who they are. Resume Journey was created by me, obviously, as a CEO, and I just always want to give a quick synopsis of why. Being in the HR field and being an administrator, it's almost like a jack of all trades. So Resume Journey was developed because individuals like yourselves and others have requested questions such as, I'm not getting any feedback on positions. I don't know what's going on with my resume. It's kind of boring. I need a facelift. I'm not really getting a lot of, what we would say, interest for positions when I submit it. I'm submitting my job, submitting my application numerous times, and I don't know what's wrong. So Resume Journeys was created to be able to help in all facets as it relates to those questions. And thank you guys for answering that question in the chat. I see we definitely are getting a lot of reasons what we would like to get out of this resume workshop. So that's great. So I'm gonna just have a little commercial for you guys to see resume journey and what resume journeys is about. I'll have Marvin play that commercial for you. Just bear with us. We're just getting the commercial up so you guys would be able to view it.
Everyone has a journey and a story. A passion to transform your resume while providing guidance in how to be an outstanding candidate, that is what Resume Journey stands for. As the COVID-19 pandemic arose in March of this year, Resume Journeys provided assistance to many individuals out of work to help obtain positions across the United States and still continue to do so. We believe in diversity, no matter the nationality, as this fosters a culture of inclusion and elevates your skills and capabilities to perform your job. Resume Journeys, creative services such as crafting your perfect resume, interactive sessions, workshops, and career coaching. That's just to name a few. Having an extensive background in hospitality, healthcare, and customer service, with human resources experience, provided me with the insight and focus to what recruiters and hiring managers are looking for in a candidate. Our clients are people who needed the push to achieve the heights that they dreamt about, as will you. All you need is that one person to help guide you on your journey.
So great. Thanks, Marvin, for playing that commercial. So that's what Resume Journeys is. We're definitely about giving back and being able to set individuals like yourselves up for success. Instead of trying to go on these websites, Google, and trying to find someone to help do your resume for you and pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars or give you advice or consultations or, there's just quick grammatical errors or whatever it is, Resume Journeys is definitely there to provide that type of service for you. We have the flexibility to do that, all different types of customizations that we get as far as requests from you as the clients, as the members, I should say. So let's just jump right into the agenda because there's a lot of information I want to share with you. So let's just jump right into the agenda so we can see exactly what's going to be discussed tonight. So the agenda for this evening is going to start off by talking about what's the difference between a functional resume versus a chronological resume. We'll also talk about Resume 101, how to make your resume stand out, common errors to avoid, the look is as important as the content, how to prepare and arrive for your interview, top skills on resumes, and then we'll jump into Q&A. I think this agenda covers a lot of things in the chat that you guys have put that you want to take away from this workshop. So I think we'll be able to cover just about everything. So let's jump into the first topic. And that's something new I'm bringing actually to this workshop. Let's talk about functional resumes and chronological resumes. Marvin? So, question, what is a functional resume? Functional resumes primarily focus on your skills and experience, especially if you want to utilize transferable skills, which I know a lot of you have heard before, or let's say you're searching for a new career. it is a great segue for, interns and new grads to be able to display a lot of their skills if you didn't have a lot of experience. That would really be what a functional resume is. So it's kind of like a threefold type of resume. It can be utilized for many different things, but mostly it's used to display your skills and not so much the chronological timeline that you have for your positions. So let's talk about chronological resumes. So with this resume right here, you notice that, and I'm sorry if you guys have a black line, you shouldn't have that. That's something we'll have to fix. But on this resume, if you notice, the biggest thing that stands out on this resume is that there's no chronological dates, right? So on your typical resume, you always have chronological dates from present, right? Your most recent position to the past, right? Which you should never go 10 years back, but you should go within that time frame of 10 years back, but starting from present to past. That's usually the common, what we would say, resume that most individuals receive and prefer. The functional resume, I wouldn't say it's new, but it's trending right now because individuals are in between career changes and they want to do something different. Sometimes it's great to pivot out of your career and just explore new things. This functional resume helps you do that. This resume that you're looking at has core qualification, talks about experience and skills. You'll notice it has employment history, but it's minimized because although that's a focus, the individual wants the reader, the viewer, the recruiter, or the employer to be able to focus on the skills and qualifications that you possess. Let's go to the next slide. So what is a chronological resume? Like we just discussed, right? In regards to chronological resumes, which is the most common one that's used right now, right? Chronicle resumes are standard for most employers. It lists your most recent jobs and all other positions held in a specific order. An example of a chronological resume. Marvin, let's go to the next one and show that. So this is a chronological resume, right? So as you can see, although it has the skills and it has a brief summary of introduction of who that individual is, it also talks about the experience, like we mentioned, in chronological order. If you notice one thing to pay attention to, the format is consistent, the font is consistent, and so is the color. We'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about resume 101, but just bringing attention to that. Does anybody know, and I don't know if this resume, if this picture could be enlarged, or maybe you can enlarge it on your screen, but does anything noted that you guys notice different about this resume? Would you say that this resume is pretty much straightforward as a chronological resume? Any errors that you see? Anything that looks a little bit peculiar to you when looking at this resume? This is for Judia Williams. Starting from the name down, do you notice anything strange about this resume? You guys use the chat feature. Because when looking at this resume, there's a couple of things right off the bat that I notice. You're right, Anya, Talisa, Monique, absolutely. So a couple of things, India, absolutely. So we have the red at the top, all right? We have the red at the top. Resume looks a little long. And you're right, it is long. Absolutely, Wendy, we will. It's very long. Actually, to fit it on this presentation, it had to be cut. It was actually 3 pages. Pretty long, right? Again, when you're talking about resume and length, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it also goes based on the person's experience, right? So we'll talk a little bit about length. If you notice, does anybody see the email address? I don't know if it's too small, but does anybody see that email address? It's probably a little bit vague, but the email address is what we would call an inappropriate email address to use. Again, we'll talk about that in Resume 101, but there's a lot of unique errors found in this resume. So let's jump into the next slide and talk a little bit more. So I wanted to put a little bit of humor in this presentation. So looking at this picture, right, I thought it was really unique. And I actually have this in my office, chronological, functional, or combo. When you look at this picture, what comes to mind when you look at this picture? What do you guys think? What comes to mind when looking at this picture? Stress, overwhelmed, uncertainty, frustration. So you're all right. What's interesting about this is that every one of you that actually actually said what you thought about the picture was actually right. So this gentleman got a laptop in front, right? I'm assuming that paper in front is, a resume. As you can see, chronological, functional, or combo has the coffee, similar to mine, right? Has a coffee in front of him, but he seems stressed, and he is, because he's looking at it like, wait a second. To Giselle's point, she just said chronological, functional, or combo. I would be stressed too, because that's a lot, especially because I didn't even mention combo, right? Like, what is that? What is combo? We talked about chronological, self-explanatory, right? The standard way of resume. We talked about functional. A lot of people don't know what functional is, as I can say, as it relates to the new resumes of the what's trending. Then we talk about combo. What does combo mean? Combo encompasses both. So I always say, dare to be dear, right? Who says that you can't have the best of both worlds? You can, especially when it comes to showcasing your resume. That's the objective. The objective is to showcase your resume and make sure you stand out by any means necessary. The chronological in regards to, okay, should we do it the standard way or functional? You can have both. You can still have that chronological order of your work history, right? And then you also can have it where it's functional. That functional portion should go on the top. That's where it's talking about a little bit about your skill summary, your professional highlights, a little bit about you, what I call the replacement of what's an objective, which we don't really use anymore on resumes. So you can have both and craft your resume the way you want to, as you see fit. Okay? Let's go to the next slide, Marvin. So, resume versus CV. Has anyone ever heard of CV? Show of yeses or nos in the chat. CV, the word CV. Have you ever heard of that? CV? Kimwa? Shonda? Yes. Great. Great. Okay, perfect. So, resume versus CV. What is that? Self-explanatory. It's basically the same thing. People just use different terminologies. They make it more complicated than it is. For me, I like it to be simple. I'm sure you guys do too. Nobody wants it to be too complicated. Everyone knows it to be a resume. CV is that, I call it the unique way of saying a resume that is more detailed and longer. In a nutshell, that's what a CV is. Technically, a resume could be that as well, because a resume can be detailed and long. But depending on the organization, depending on the employer, depending on the recruiter, some call it just a resume, some ask for your CV. But if you notice, it says resume is 1 or 2 page summary of your education, skills, and experience. It's brief and concise. It doesn't always have to be brief and concise. It goes according to your experience. Everybody's experience is different. Don't let anyone tell you different. CV, a longer, at least 2 pages, and a more detailed synopsis. Summary of educational background, teaching, research, and experience, publications. yada, yada, right? So what does that mean? In a nutshell, let's say you are a publicist, you are a physician, you are a teacher. Those professions usually would be curtailing their resume style to be more of a CV because they have publications, they might have certain type of presentations that they want to acknowledge, certain affiliations. But again, remember, a resume can have that as well, okay? Let's talk about the next slide, Resume 101. So Resume 101, this is a simple, I always say this is the basics, but you always have to go back to the basics in order to get ahead, right? We always have to double back and check when we have that resume in hand, did we dot our I's and cross our T's, right? So we talk about font style and size must be consistent, black font preferred, contact information must be up to date. Always, always, always. I'm always going to talk about this. Again, I'm giving you all the secrets, all the trades, all the tips. As HR professional for 10 years and as an administrator, your contact information has to be correct. Your email address cannot be off. If it is, guess what? Next, the phone number. Make sure that mailbox is not full. That's the worst thing ever when an administrator, a recruiter calls and that mailbox is full. You're not always going to get that individual that goes the extra mile. I won't mention who that is, but you're not going to always get that individual that goes the extra mile that says, you know what, if the mailbox is full, let me send a text message to the candidate, letting them know, listen, I'm really interested in meeting you and talking more about the position. Your mailbox is full. Is there any chance that you could give me a call back? That's like a perfect example, right? Wouldn't we all love to have a recruiter or an employer do that? We would, wouldn't we? But then also, we would want to make sure that our mailbox is not full because that's definitely not setting us up for success. Add your LinkedIn URL to resume. Chat, I need you guys to let me know. LinkedIn, do we have LinkedIn? Have we started it? Talk to me in the chat. Have we used the LinkedIn yet? Do we have a LinkedIn profile created? Yes, no? Okay, perfect. Listen, if you don't have LinkedIn created, it's okay. We'll get there, okay? But we definitely want to have LinkedIn. A lot of employers look at LinkedIn when they're shopping around for candidates, okay? Spelling and grammar accuracy, that's huge. The smallest mistake we see all the time. So you have to make sure your spelling and grammar is on point. The month and year of your employment must be in sequence. You don't want that the individual that's reading your resume is all over the place. They don't know where to begin. It causes confusion, it causes frustration, and they lose interest. Education must be listed. Let me just talk to you about this. Why is education important? That's a question for you guys. Why is education important to have on a resume? Do we think that maybe education could possibly be the first thing that you see when you actually apply for the position? Because when you apply for a position, the first thing that you're going to see is high school diploma or equivalency or a specific type of certification or a specific degree. Whatever type of education you have obtained or that you are pursuing needs to be on your resume. I'm a big believer on education. I'm a big believer on certifications. School is not for everyone. It's just not. But it does play a factor in you having that first, to be that first individual that they look at when it comes to acquiring the position. So whether you have the GED, whether you have a high school diploma, you have associate credits, bachelor's credits, or you're in progress, make sure you list that on your resume, okay? Metrics to show the scope of your work is always important. For example, and it says there, supervised how many employees? 20. completed a project of 10K. Numeric numbers in a resume stands out. Your experience should not be more than 10 years. I'm looking at some resumes as we speak right now, right? I have a couple of resumes that was submitted to me. I had one of the resumes where the individual gave me experience that went back 27 years. I'm going to say that again. An individual gave me a resume. The resume has 27 years of experience. Not 27 years of experience with one job, 27 years of experience with a lot of jobs. Again, experience should not be more than 10 years. Remember, when you go for a background check for organizations or companies, they're only doing a background check that goes back 10 years. Anything past that is void, okay? Length of your resume, again, I mentioned it before. Never let someone tell you that you must have a 1-pager, you must have a 2-pager, you must have a 3-pager, you can't have this, you can't have this. Listen to me. Your experience has to be on that resume. And if your experience exceeds 1 page, it's fine. If your experience exceeds 2 pages, it's okay. Never let anyone tell you different, okay? It's okay to have a 1-page resume, a 2-page resume, or a 3-page resume, because you want to have all your experience listed. Remember, this is your time to sell, your pitch, to showcase who you are. Bilingual skills. There's so many positions right now that they're looking for a lot of individuals that speak different languages. I noticed that we're leaving that off. So whether you have intermediate or advanced, please put those bilingual skills on the resume, okay? Let's go to the next slide. This is the hottest topic. Everybody always asks how to make your resume stand out. Giselle, how do I make my resume stand out? I've been trying to apply for this position. This is the position that I want. I really, really want this position. I know that I have probably no chance. 20 to 200 people are applying. How do I make it stand out? Let's look at the five bullets that we have here. Develop a professional summary, and let's replace the word objective. So by a show of hands in the chat feature, who still has objective on their resume? And don't be scared. Don't be shy. You can say, yes, Giselle, I have objective on my resume. It's okay. There's a reason why I'm asking that. If you have objective on your resume, we're going to replace that word objective with professional summary, skill highlights. This, hopefully we're writing all of this down. This ties back to functional resume. Remember I told you that, right? We talked about this, right? Functional resumes. We also talked about a little bit about combo, right? So developing a professional summary and skill highlights, putting that together ties into that functional resume, ties into the combination of both. It replaces the word objective, okay? Tailor your resume to fit the job. How do we do that? How do we tailor the resume to fit the job? You're utilizing a job description. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna utilize that job description and we're gonna make sure that we're tailoring our resume to fit the job description. The caveat to that is, and I'll be very honest with you, some job descriptions, and this is on the administrator side, some job descriptions that are posted are very general and very vague, okay? These are things that sometimes you don't know. So again, these are all the secrets and the hidden things that you don't get to find out. Job descriptions sometimes are very general, depending on if the organization or the company has the time to be able to update these job descriptions, then fine, it's fair game, utilize it. If you notice that the job description is very general, don't waste your time. You're gonna have to do a little bit more research because you don't wanna have just a generalization of what's in your resume because you notice that this job description doesn't consist of anything really powerful or useful for you to use. Highlight your skills all the time. A skill that you have that you don't mention is a wasted skill. Remember that. Any skill that you have, it's for you to display, it's for you to utilize. So always highlight it. Utilize the right context of words. Include volunteer work. So before, people used to say, I'm not going to put any volunteer work on my resume. It's not important. Why should I use volunteer work? Does anybody currently right now have volunteer work on their resume? In the chat feature, do you guys have volunteer work on your resume by chance? Anyone? Peggy? Anya? Okay. Monique? Talisa? Charlene? Okay. So volunteer work. Great, Sandra. Okay. So let's work with that. So any type of volunteer work that you've done at any point in time, it's safe to have on your resume. It can actually be the deal breaker. So if you have 3 candidates, 3 resumes, all 3 resumes are in chronological style. 1 resume has volunteer work. It's always that unique difference that makes a resume stand out. That is the key. That's the missing puzzle, honestly. It's always that unique feature on a resume. So if you have 3 resumes in hand, right? And the administrator is looking at them, right? Just like how I am. We're always looking to see, wait a second, what's different? They're all the same. Let's say, for example, they all have the same experience as it relates to, I don't know, let's make something up, retail, for example. So they all come from retail, but what makes this different? How can I decipher who I'm going to interview, right? But then you notice that the resume has some volunteer experience. That's something that's definitely going to stand out. So don't be afraid to put volunteer experience on your resume. Just don't make it too lengthy where you're talking about the volunteer experience more than your work history, okay? Gaps of employment, hottest topic right now. It's like front page news, almost like the hurricane that we had, that we did have. Gaps of employment. If you notice, what does it say? If you have a gap of employment, a gap of employment does not hinder you from getting a position, okay? It should not hinder you. If it is hindering you and you feel that the organization or the company that you're interviewing for is saying, you know what, it's just not working for me. Maybe that's not the greatest or the best organization, right? Maybe it's just not for you. It's just not a fit, as we can say, right? Gaps of employment are okay. They're understandable. Why? Because we're human and things happen. You have to be human, right? To be able to understand the course of things that happen in people's life. Full-time parent, maternity leave, family management, full-time students, furloughed, medical leaves, military, you name it, right? All of these things are acceptable for gaps within employment. It's okay, okay? It's not something that you should be afraid of. Well, you know what? I was out of work for a specific amount of time. I was caring for an elder, or maybe I was just furloughed and I'm kind of embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Okay, so I just want you guys to feel comfortable about that. Let's go to the next slide. This is just a continuation, especially as it relates to gaps of employment, because that's something that I'm asked a lot, both again on the HR side and as on the administrative side. So I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into this. Explain the situation clearly but briefly, right? So if an employer is asking you about your gap of employment, you can explain the situation clearly, but be brief about it. Whatever your situation is, you don't have to bore the person to death or give them too much information. Sometimes too much is too much. Employers do not require all of your personal details, right? So if I'm interviewing someone and they're explaining about their gap of employment, just keep it brief, to the point, and simple. You want to show that the situation has ended. If it has not ended, you just want to be able to provide the reasoning why. There's nothing wrong with being upfront about it, especially if that's a circumstance that you know is not going to change. For example, let's say you're taking on a position, you know it's part-time, you know that your situation at home is not going to change. Do not try to take on that position if you feel like it's not going to be a fit for you. Just be upfront and honest. Okay. Again, if they hire you thinking positively that they will, I'll repeat that again so you guys can hear what I just said. If they hire you thinking positively that they will, they want to know that you're 100% committed to the position. Always reiterate your interest in the position. And how do you do that? Doing your research on the organization. Research is key. Just doing your research, showing that you're interested in the position. You can always play back to them different things and different excerpts, that you read, articles, where the company's going, the direction that you've seen it, go in, the growth. Do your research. Okay. Marvin, we could go to that next slide. Resume mistakes. Too many graphics. What do we mean by too many graphics? Sometimes resumes are pretty. Sometimes they're an overkill. Too many graphics is not necessary. So I always say leave the graphic part alone and just keep it standard and simple. You don't really need to have too many graphics. Unaccounted employment, again, let's go back to the gaps of employment. That ties right back into it. It's not unaccounted if you have a reason, right? It's not really unaccounted if you have a reason. Inappropriate email address. Julia Williams' email address, guys. That was an inappropriate email. I believe it said sexy Julia or something of that nature at hotmail or gmail.com. Inappropriate. Everybody knows that, right? You would think, but we still get resumes that have this, right? Inappropriate email addresses. Words that you don't understand. What is that? You go on Google, you go on all these resume builders and stuff, and you copy all these words and you read it. It makes no sense, right? Because sometimes you don't even understand it. It's like, it looks good. It looks really good. It's like, wow, this person maybe sound amazing, but you don't understand it. Resume mistake. Personal details, your hobbies. Listen, I'm a big fan of, if you're skiing or if you like to go to the beach or you like to, do swimming, that's fantastic. But hobbies are not needed on a resume. You're here to get a job. You're not really here to talk about the things that you like to do, even though it sounds great. Don't get me wrong, but that's not what you're here for. So we leave that off. Irrelevant work experience. Irrelevant work experience is straightforward. If it's irrelevant, it doesn't need to be on your resume. And your home address is not required. Another hot tip, a lot of individuals have their address on their resume. If you notice, Julia Williams on that resume that we just went to didn't have her address. It had the city and state that she lived in or resided in, and that was it. It's not a requirement anymore to put your home address. You know why? Because when you go to fill out the application and you're doing the background check, you're going to have your home address disclosed anyway. So you don't need to have that on your resume. It's not something that an employer is going to say, wait a second, they didn't put their home address, I'm not going to hire them, or I'm not going to interview them, or a recruiter's not going to call you. Okay, so you don't have to have your full home address. You can put your city, state. Some people don't even put all of that. They just leave it where it's just their name, their email address, and their best contact number. And of course, their LinkedIn profile. Let's go to the next slide. So I've been doing a lot of talking, and this is a sip and learn. So I'm gonna stop here, and I want to bring in a video that I want you guys to take a look at, because I want to hear from you guys after this video. Before we talk about effective ways to make your resume stand out, right? Because that's really the biggest thing. How do I make my resume stand out? I'm gonna start getting back into the workforce, and I want my resume to stand out. So Marvin's gonna play a clip for you, and I need you to pay attention. Turn up your volume on your phone or your computer, okay? And I want you to pay attention, because I'm gonna ask you guys questions. I want you to pay attention to this clip of an interview.
in.
Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Hi there, how are you?
Good,
How are
good.
you?
Doing well. All right.
Okay. So my name is George. I wanted to give you a quick little overview of the position that you're interviewing for. That being said, it would be helpful. Do you have your resume by any chance with you?
No, I mean, I sent it to you guys. I didn't think I needed to bring it. I have it on the website. I sent it to you guys. If you want me to go print it, I can.
Um, I,
No, it's okay, I actually
Okay.
printed a copy, so, we're okay, we can start.
So I'll just give you an introduction about the position. It's a senior administrative manager position, has an oversight of 55 FTEs. It's mixed staff in terms of medical secretaries, billing coordinators. It's a very fast-paced, moving practice that we have currently in need of a senior manager. I think it would be probably helpful for you to give us a quick little introduction of yourself, and then we just have a couple of questions for you.
Sure. Like I said, I sent you guys my resume and qualifications ahead of the meeting, so I'm not sure if you got a chance to read that, but most of the information's on there. I did see the information about the job posting, and to be honest, it seems very doable and easy and compared to what I'm doing now, so I think I could definitely handle it.
So my name's Angela, thank you for taking the time to come meet with us. I see that you're currently an admin manager, in dental medicine, so this role is gonna be, it's,
Hello? Hey, I'm in that meeting I was telling you about. Yeah, it's not a big deal, it's okay. You're not interrupting. Just tell the patient we'll schedule them another day, okay? All right, thank you, bye. Sorry about that.
okay, we're just gonna get right into questions.
Okay.
My first question for you is around team building. So, building a team spirit to get results is often very difficult to do, especially with the diverse group of people that, we often work with. Tell me about a time when you had your greatest success in building team spirit and what specific results were accomplished by your team.
Sure, yeah, personally, I like to work more individually. I find sometimes it's easier to get the job done yourself. In terms of team building, have done things like team lunches or team outings and things like that, but that's really the extent to which I do team building exercises. I find sometimes it's easier to get things done on your own.
Marvin, we're gonna stop it right here.
One of the important
Are we back? Okay, great. So at this point right now, my sip and learn participants on this workshop, everyone should make sure when I ask this question, listen to me carefully, should have a reply in that chat. I should not see anyone that is hesitant to put something in the chat. Tell me, what do you guys feel about this interview that you just watched? I want to know all your comments. I want to know all your feedback. Let's go. All your comments, all your feedback. You guys just watched that interview. I should see that chat going off. All right, Arian. Disaster. Okay. Let's go. Keep going, guys. Disaster. That's one. Nakia, horrendous. Anya, and not engaging. Junior, unprofessional. Yolanda, arrogant. Rude. Not a team player. Unbelievable, Joshua. Charlene, bad on both sides. That's all we have? Oh, Whis, does not look like he needs a job. Peggy, unprepared. Zandra, who goes to an interview like that? Now, that was the best ever, right? So usually when we not really interested in the job, you're actually right, Anya. Um, the interview should have canceled the interview. You're right, Peggy. Summer says, rude, do not work well with others. You guys are on point, on fire tonight. Yes. So as I was saying, usually when I do these webinars, I actually change it up specifically tonight. And I did that for a reason, because I actually wanted you to see a interview, right? These are real people, first and foremost. It's not made up. It's not actors. These are real people, real organization. He's a real candidate. And what was interesting is that everything that you guys noticed, right, from the beginning, when he came in for the interview to where he sat down, when he started answering the questions, and you guys observed everything. You guys said, disastrous, horrendous, arrogant, rude, who comes to an interview like that? Bad on both sides. You guys are all right. That was the worst interview ever. And to be honest with you, when he first came in, I kind of had hesitation from the minute he walked into the interview. Although I'd have to say his suit was nice. I have to give him that. You guys have to give him that, right? At least his suit was nice. Dress sharp, ready for the interview. Like Chuck would say, dress sharp, tailor-made, ready to go. But the disappointment was that his phone was ringing, like you guys noticed, right? Did you notice that he mentioned when they started talking that he's a one-man show, right? Yes, Charlene, very good. So this is this was something that shows how not to interview, okay? So here's a question. Are we in a consensus that if you were the administrator, right, would you hire this gentleman? Yes or no, in the chat. Would you hire this gentleman? Would you give him a second chance? Would you call him back for a second interview? Okay. Okay. I like the no way, no how. That was really interesting. Ariane, the interview would have ended in 1 minute. Monique said she wouldn't hire him to watch her dog. That's serious. But seriously, guys, I just brought this to show you that these are actually things that happen, right? Did you notice that he was unprepared without his resume? Like, who does that? Who comes to an interview without a resume, right? That's like the first thing. It's like 101 basics, right? You have to have your resume. You can't just assume, well, I sent the resume in, so you should have it. Let's get back to let's get back to, again, trying to talk about how to make this resume stand out. But keep that video in mind, okay? Keep that video in mind. We're gonna come back to that later on. Again, effective ways to make your resume stand out. Start strong, right? Start with a summary and the key accomplishments. Again, your skills and your accomplishments matter. Think about that. If it's a skill that you have and that you're utilizing, but you're not mentioning it on your resume, then why have the skill? You need to mention that on your resume. We want to see that. Emphasize results rather than your responsibilities. So a lot of people give the textbook answer, right? So when you write your resume, you give that textbook answer, and you usually see it because it's usually copied exactly word for word from the job description. You never want to do that, right? You want to talk about the results, for example, the money that you've saved the company, the teamwork that you've done, the clients or the team building that you've acquired since being there. Again, customize it for the job you want. You can highlight your changes. That's always a plus. So if you've been in a position, right? You've been if you've been at a specific organization or company and you've held numerous titles, showcase those titles because it shows the growth. It shows that not only did you grow within the organization or the company, but wow, you've took on so many roles. Why wouldn't they hire you? You've took on so many positions. You've learned so much. You're well-rounded. You have so much experience. Why wouldn't we hire you? So definitely showcase that. Let's go to the next slide. So we talk about these examples, right? Majority of resumes have bullets, right? Whether they're the bold circular bullets, they have the square ones, you have the check, whatever they, whatever you choose to use. What do you think about this? Show of comments in the chat. Responsible for handling a high volume of inbound customer requests per day, manage day-to-day activities on long-term projects for large corporate accounts. What do you guys think about that? Do you like these bullets? Do you think that these are good? Would you utilize it in your resume? Okay, Peggy, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, Anya. India, okay. Okay. Joshua, okay. I like that. So what we noticed, or what the consensus is, that these responsibilities, these bullet points, are very vague, right? I think that's the consensus. They're vague, no impact, they're just simple. So in other words, they're boring. If it's boring to the readers, that means your resume is not standing out, right? So we don't want it to be boring. We want to jazz it up. We want it to be impactful, right? So when they look at your resume, there's no question, without a doubt, they are calling you for that interview. Let's go to the next one. I want you guys to read that and then comment for me in the chat. What do you think about these responsibilities and how this is worded? What do you guys think about this? You guys should have read it already. What are your thoughts? What do you think about these bullets? How is this written? Is it still vague? Okay, Charlene. India, okay. Okay, Peggy. Okay, Anya. Okay, Yolanda. Shonda, yep. Okay, Z. So guess what? Wiz, perfect, perfect. Guess what? You guys all passed, right? If this was a test, you guys got an A. You know why? Because every one of you listed exactly what we went over in the beginning of this presentation when we talked about 101. Absolutely, Summer. So these bullets are transformed, right? It's more impactful. It's concise. It's definitely making a difference because you have numeric numbers in there now, right? It's enhanced compared to what we just saw. Let's go to the next slide. The look is as important as the content. What does that mean? Do not leave out pertinent detail information, okay? Do not leave out any pertinent information. Pay attention to what you would like the interviewer to know about you, right? If you don't want the interviewer to know something, do not put it on the resume, because whatever is on your resume is fair game, okay? Proofread it. Proofread it not once, not twice, but 3 times. If I'm writing a resume and I want to make sure that it looks good, I'm going to proofread it more than once. So please proofread that resume. Content influences the conversation. Quality is better over quantity. This is such a good phrase. I say that currently right now to the staff that I oversee. It's not about quota. It's not about sometimes reaching a goal. I would rather you have more quality than quantity, right? Does that make sense? The quality of your work is more important than sometimes the quantity. Let's go to the next slide. Top skills on a resume, hot off the press. This is hotter than the cup right now that I'm drinking for our sip and learn. Hotter than the cup right now. Top skills on a resume. Show of hands in the chat. Number one skill, communication. Does everybody agree that should be a skill on your resume? I should see a lot of yeses in the chat. Communication skills. Communication. Is that important to put on a resume? No, yes, maybe. Absolutely, 100%. Okay, perfect. All of you guys, yes, absolutely, Yolanda. That's exactly the word I was going to use. Thanks, Wiz. Communication skills should be the numero uno. India, Summer, absolutely. These skills are, again, we're going back to, what are we going back to? Does anybody know what we're going to go back to when we talk about these skills? When we talk about communication skills, right? And you guys have been with me for just about an hour, and we talk about the skills on your resume. What does that correlate with? Right? Computer, technical skills, leadership skills, organizational, time management. Whew, that's a big one. Collaboration, problem solving, conflict resolution, many more. It goes back to functional, chronological combo, right? It's all about displaying the skills that you have. Remember? Absolutely, Summer. That's how I know you're paying attention. Transitional. So in order for you to showcase your skills, you gotta list your skills. You gotta list your skills that you have. Remember, a skill that's not mentioned is not even worth having a skill. You gotta mention your skills, okay? That's really important. Let's go to the next one, Marvin. Gisela's Corner. I would suggest you guys take your phone right now and take a picture of this. I really do. I think you guys need to really take a picture of this, because this right here is the hottest tip that you're gonna get. How many of you guys know about the STAR method when interviewing? How many of you guys know about the STAR method? Or have you heard of it? Okay, Summer. STAR method, anyone? Okay, Anya. Wiz, India, Junior, yep, okay. I have some no's, I have some yeses. Okay, Monique. Okay, Zandra, Shonda, Yolanda, okay. So listen, since we have a mixed view, let's talk about it really quickly. Let's talk about it. The STAR method of interviewing is what I would say 60% of recruiters and employers utilize to interview you. If you notice, STAR means what? S stands for the situation, T stands for the task, A is for the action, and R is for the result. It's almost like a no-brainer when you're thinking about it, because if you notice, the situation is obviously, what was the situation, right? What was involved within the situation? What did it consist of? What actions did you take, and what was the end result? Sometimes they don't do STAR method. Sometimes it's more free form as far as interview. As you can see, the interview that we just viewed, right? That interview was actually a little of both, right? They kind of asked, they asked the gentleman, if he would be, his interest in the position. And that's kind of when he kind of was a little bit arrogant about it. They also did ask what we call a behavioral question. So they kind of mixed it up. But I just don't want you to get caught off guard in the event that you are interviewing and you get this question. 8 minutes with each recruiter doing a career fair. So some of you guys are going to be interviewing with these great organizations and companies, as Chuck mentioned, for the Black MDA, at Black MDA. You want to make sure that those 8 minutes with that recruiter virtually is the best 8 minutes of your life. It's going to be the best 8 minutes, and it will be. You know why? Because you had this workshop by Resume Journey, right? You can reach out to me afterwards. You can email me. You can IG me. Or should I say DM? That's what everybody calls it. But we're here to make sure that the 8 minutes you're prepared for. That's like the elevator pitch of a lifetime. So you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward and you give them everything you got within that 8 minutes. Thank you email should always be sent out within 24 hours. As an administrator, if I'm interviewing someone and they leave, by the time they get home, it's always a good look to have a thank you email sent. Again, it goes back to what separates, right? What separates all three individuals? That thank you letter, right? You could have a bad interview. You might think you had a bad interview. You might think, you know what? I didn't do really good. I came home, I feel a little bit discouraged. I might be a little bit defeated. I don't think I did good. All of a sudden you get a call the next day. We'd like to call you in for a second interview. What did you do different? First off, you sent the thank you email. Second of all, you should never think negatively. You should always think positively all the time, all the time. Job status emails are okay. Just don't be a stalker. Just being very transparent with you. Being from HR and recruitment for a very long time, nobody wants to be harassed by a stalker candidate because it happens where the candidate reaches out to you for the whole week, 7 days, every day, even on the weekends to ask you if they got the job. That's a little bit what we call overkill. Okay. I usually say wait a little, at least a week and then reach out just to kind of do a soft tap to ask or inquire. As for business cards, you guys are doing virtual interviews. I know I'm conducting them myself where I'm doing virtual interviews. Ask for what's called a virtual contact card. Everyone has it. Okay. Social media cleanup. Huge, huge, huge. Everyone on this what presentation, I'm assuming, has social media. Who has social media? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Do you have social media? Yes, no, no, maybe. I have social media a little bit. Okay. It's okay. Don't be scared. Do you have social media? It's all right. If you have social media, it's fine to have social media, but you got to clean it up. Employers are actually looking at social media. What does that mean? You know what? I don't want to clean it up. I'm just going to throw my Facebook or my Instagram on private, right? So that they can't get into my social media, right? Is that the solution? Is that the solution for the most part? We should just put it on privacy and then they can't really check our social media. Again, social media consists of so many things. Google your name. I always say this, Google your name and tell me what you come up with when you Google your name. Okay, Marvin, we could go to the next one. How to prepare for your interview, in person or virtual. Dress business professional. Business professional, right? Should be a no-brainer. But I'll always say this because I always remember Chuck saying this. If you go into an interview and you don't have a tie, what's the sense of going to an interview? Right? As far as a gentleman, always wear a tie. Women, ladies, always make sure that you're properly groomed all the time. Okay? Verbal communication skills. That's important, right? We want to make sure that we're not talking slang and we're being professional when we are speaking. Nonverbal communication is how you say it. That's by a show of hands in the chat. Have you guys ever heard it's not what you say, it's how you say it? Have you guys heard of that? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So just keep that in mind when it comes to nonverbal communication skills. Sometimes you don't even have to talk. Sometimes it's just the attitude or the motion. And this is not just from you as the interviewer, it's the interviewees as well, right? So it's kind of like twofold. Body language, no brainer, right? So if your body language is like this, no good. Research the company. I talked about that earlier. Research the company. Any position that you want to go for, any position that you want to compare, right? I just threw you a curveball. Sometimes it's good to compare positions. How do you compare positions? Research the companies. When you're in an interview, you have the ability to research that company and talk about it. Eye contact, always important. Wear your mask, which we know, obviously, if you're virtual, no mask needed. As you can see, the video that we had, that individual wore a mask, right? Check your background and audio, kind of what myself, Chuck, and Marvin was doing before you guys came on. Arrive 10 minutes early and definitely turn your cell phone off. That vibration kills me. Okay. When I hear the phone, here we go. That phone zzz, while the interview is going off. That's a distraction. Okay. So make sure that's off. In the essence of time, I want to make sure that we answered all the questions in the beginning of this workshop. You guys, from the beginning, first question was, what are the questions that you would like answered from this workshop? So in the chat, was that answered? Were some of your questions answered? Did we have any other questions? Did we have one-off questions, unique questions? I see a lot of yeses. I feel like I covered a lot, but there's always that unique question. And again, if you're not comfortable on this platform to ask it, you could definitely email me and we can talk about it. I'll turn it over to Andrew, but thank you guys for allowing me to walk you through resume development.
Thank you, Gisela. Gisela,
Yes.
I just want to make one comment. This is Chuck. Someone talked earlier on, and I know that we didn't touch upon it. I'm a new person, young person. I don't have a lot to go on my resume. And the only thing that came to my mind was that hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to do some level of internship. And that can go on your resume. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Saying you work for XYZ company during the summer and you had this responsibility, that responsibility. It's better than leaving it blank. Do you think? Do you agree?
Absolutely. And that's going back to the functional resume. Talks
Right.
about the volunteer experience, the school experience. Absolutely.
Okay.
Andrew's not on yet.
He was a
Did we
moment
have
ago.
any other
Yeah.
did we have
Hold on,
any
yeah.
other questions, Chuck?
No, I just thought that was one that kind of stuck me because I know we didn't talk much about internships. I had a couple of questions today outside this event asking about internships. Another thing too that want to emphasize also for next week, you don't have to have an MBA degree. It's the program is put on by the National Black MBAs, but one quick example is that the FBI does not require a graduate degree. You can have a degree in any field, but you should have you have to have a minimum 4-year degree. And as you mentioned, Gisela, if you got any language skills, put that on the form too. That means a lot to them. I just love your program tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Let me check with Andrew. Let me shut up a minute. Hang on.
Guys, and again, remember, make sure that your resume is always clear and concise. I'm always going to repeat that. Okay. Clear and concise. That's from an administrator position and HR. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. So I've been in both shoes, both on the human resources side and as an administrator where I actually interview myself. So just make sure that your resume is clear and concise. If you look at it and you think that you're not ready for prime time, go with your gut. You're not ready for prime time, make some edits and fix it. There's nothing wrong with a facelift. At least you're being honest with yourself and making sure that you set yourself up for success.
Okay. I think Andrew's having problems getting in on this side of the fence here. Marvin, he's in as and attending as a panel member. But if Andrew were here, he would once again thank Gisela for a stellar presentation that you did tonight. Um, we don't take count of how many people were successful as a result of your work, but be honest with you, we know it's working. We know it's, I mean, people walk away from this session and say, daggone, I guess my resume is messed up. So anyway, that's a good thing. The second thing I think Andrew would talk about right now is also thanking, once again, the corporate partners and Marvin for tonight's session, but that we have 1 week left to the 7th session of the virtual career fair. So I'd like you guys to register online, tell a friend, bring a neighbor, come join us, and hopefully meet up with the right career opportunity that fits your needs. We have a national conference in Chicago. There's actually going to be a hybrid online as well as in person, and that's on September 14th. That starts. Lots of other events you'll find on our website. Of course, we'll be doing this session again, Gisela, when it comes to the fall session, which I believe is November. So between now, please let us know. Give us your feedback on how you're making out, how things are going for you. We really want to follow up with you. You have Gisela's email address. I see Andrew now. I can stop talking. Andrew, say something.
You're doing well, my friend. Thank you. Again, thank you to the team. And I'd like to say this is our 5th online career fair. And also this is and let's wrote down, took a note. This is my 13th career fair that I've been a part of. I never added it on my resume, but I need to now. Thanks for the tip. So these are skills that definitely inherited doing this position. And again, I'm thankful to giving back to community and all that we serve. And again, the best of luck to you. Please register for the online career fair September 9th. Please also register for the national career fair happening on the week of September 20th. And also, you have this valuable resource here. Many of us are going into Q3, or we're now in Q3, Q4, where reviews are written, where reviews are being crafted right now. It's a great opportunity to get in front of your boss to highlight your skills and your professional development over the last year. So not only to get your next opportunity, but also succeed in the current one you're currently in. So on behalf of the board, on behalf of our community, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful evening. Her contact information is all, I believe, is in the chat. And also we'll send you a follow-up note, also get in contact with Resume Journey. And thanks again for participating this evening. Thank you.